a great blessing to spend my life in the company of heroes. My dad and all my brothers served in combat. As a U.S. Marine in Vietnam, I fought beside the best and bravest of a generation. And I had the privilege of serving one of our nation's greatest leaders, President Ronald Reagan. But some of my most rewarding experiences, those that inspire me to keep fighting for the heroes among us, are the life-changing moments made possible by Freedom Alliance. The men and women of America's armed forces and their families can count on Freedom Alliance 24/7. From care packages for deployed troops to financial aid for hospitalized heroes, Freedom Alliance offers extraordinary support for our nation's defenders and their loved ones. They've paid freedom's price. Every American engaged in the war on terror has left something of themselves on difficult and dangerous battlefields. And too often, their service to our country exacts a sacrifice from their families. Helping America's heroes overcome some of the greatest challenges they'll ever face is the core mission of Freedom Alliance.
It's the guts and it's the glory, 100 stripes, 100 stories.
Welcome to HomeFront Sitrep. I hope you're in for a great show today, because I'm just a veteran talking about what's on my mind and maybe yours.
You can find HomeFront Sitrep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can also check out HomeFront Sitrep's YouTube channel.
Buckle up, the show is starting. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a Monday edition of HomeFront Sitrep. If you tried to watch last night, unfortunately, I was without power, so I was unable to get on and have a show. I was supposed to have Beyond Boundaries on last night, which is they're based out of Virginia, Richmond, and Roanoke area. We will get them rescheduled. I'm going to try to do one probably Thursday night, just a special episode Thursday night. And as you can tell, I don't have a co-host with me tonight. Candace is not here, but I do have a special co-host. I'm going to bring him up, Mr. Brandon Cooper from Veterans Voice Radio. Sir, how are you?
What's up, everybody? Willis, how are you, brother?
Man, I am hanging in there, my friend. It's been a crazy last few days, with the weather,
right?
And everything. So do me a favor. You're new to my show. You're not new to the realm of podcasting, but you're new to our show here on HomeFront Sitrep. So do me a favor, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. We'll start with Veterans Voice Radio and Heroes Voices Media Foundation. I'm on the board of directors along with Willis on those projects. I'm director of operations and I run the radio stations Also, I'm I guess you would say, professional paranormal investigator. I've been doing it 30 years. I travel the U.S. And go to paranormal conventions. I get asked to go out all the time. I have a show and a podcast, a paranormal podcast network called the Supernatural Inc. Network, SIN for short, because why not? We do a lot of paranormal podcasts, paranormal type shows, lives. I have a show every Sunday, 9 p.m. called Shaman Sundays. You can find me on all of the socials at Shaman Sundays.
Awesome, awesome. And you are a Marine Corps veteran, so we had to throw that out there because you didn't say that. But you are wearing the EGA
Well,
on the
you notice I swapped hats, man.
Yeah.
I had a show right before this one. I had to wear that hat. Now I could wear my old beat up nice hat.
We got Mr. Jason Steiner from Hero Stock in the audience at the present moment in time. Jason, how are you, sir? I should have a meeting with the mayor of Shepherdsville here soon, Jason. So hopefully everything's going to line out right, and they're definitely very, very, very interested in getting Hero Stock into Kentucky this year. Hopefully November 8th is going to be the date, which is a Friday night. So I'm super, super excited. I just can't wait to, get in there with the mayor, do the initial interview with the mayor and his PR person and the Bullitt County Chamber of Commerce. So they're all super excited about that. I'm stoked about it too, because my vision for Hero Stock in Kentucky, we're going to start out with a 1-day event this year, and next year hopefully do a 3-day event.
There you go.
And eventually what I want, because Louisville is very well known for music festivals. We got Louder in Life, Gazebo Fest, all kinds of but music related. And it's only fitting that we bring Hero Stock, which focuses on veteran singers, songwriters, and families of veterans that are singers and songwriters. So it's a no-brainer. It's a win-win for everybody involved. And then, so today is a very somber day. If you're a veteran, if you ever served in the military, today is a very somber day. Yes, we want to celebrate the lives of all soldiers that paid the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms. When I signed my name on that dotted line in 1997, I knew it could cost up to my life.
Right.
So we definitely want to, take a moment and remember all the ones that we have lost. And so today, our guest today, here in just a few minutes, he is with the Freedom Alliance. They focus on Gold Star families, not just Gold Star families, but that's one of their primary focuses is Gold Star families. And
As it should be.
Yeah, it should be. And because there's a lot of organizations out there that focuses on the veterans, but they forget about the families as well. Because you and I know if we're deployed and our wife and kids are at home, they're serving as well as we are, not in the same capacity, but they're serving just like we are.
Well, and in many realities, just as hard as we're serving, circumstances are different, but the stress and the anxiety and whatever. I mean, it's there. So yeah.
Yeah. So I had Michelle Black on, who's a Gold Star widow, and her husband was a Green Beret that was killed in an ambush in Niger outside of a village of Tongo. And before he left for deployment, he had left on several other deployments, but this deployment, before he left, he was feeling very anxious about the deployment, and his wife was feeling very she's like, I don't want you to go, but she knew that he had to go. So he goes on the deployment, and he's about 4 weeks in, I guess, and her 9-year-old son come up to her and said, "Daddy's not coming home."
Ooh.
And a week later, he died in the ambush. You're talking about like freaking goose pimples and chills.
Yes, sir.
And then for her, he died, I think 7:30 our time when the command got the news. 9:30 they were knocking on her door because with the age of cameras and GoPros and stuff
Yep.
like that. And she was telling a story that her kids saw it on the internet, saw the death of their dad on the internet
Oh no.
because the video was posted, and kids at school were talking about it, and um we- and it was crazy. And just to think, when I served from 97 to 01, and then 9/11 happened 01 to 04, we didn't have smartphones.
Uh-uh.
We didn't have that stuff. So we didn't have to worry about that. But nowadays, it's pretty much
It is
instant.
instant.
And
And I joined in 99 and got out in 07. So as I was getting out, like camera phones were really starting to come in. I mean, all we had was, the little disposable
Yep,
Kodiak
yep,
little things that you
yep,
take to Walmart after your deployment and have the people
yeah.
develop, and then they stare at you because of what's on the
Yeah.
pictures.
Well, so when I was in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, which was one of my first deployments, this was probably in 98. Um, we had the disposable cameras, but we also, if we wanted to videotape anything, we had to go to the USO and rent those big camcorders,
Yep.
charge the battery up, put
Yep.
that's what we had. And it was like, holy cow. And I got a videotape around here floating somewhere from my trip in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. I was up in the turret in the Humvee, and I had it up on my shoulder, and we were videotaping as we were going around, and I got video of a body with tires on it, it was burning, and the
Right.
person was screaming. We couldn't
Yep.
do anything. I got video of somebody being drugged behind a truck with comm wire wrapped around their neck. And just seeing the stuff that we saw down there in Haiti, it was crazy. So
Right.
but anywho, we're not going to talk about that because,
Yep.
but yeah, it's pretty much instant nowadays. And, you know, it, I don't know. I don't know how you could stop a family that, has somebody who's deployed from seeing stuff like that on the internet. It's pretty much hard because if, whoever, if the Taliban or whoever decides to post it online, it's
Well,
pretty much online.
even if it's our side, yeah,
Yeah.
it sucks.
Yeah.
But people you need to see what's really going on out there. So I've got that 50-50 on it. Like, okay, yeah, you need to see what's going on. However, I do feel for the family.
Oh
But,
yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do with technology?
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's definitely crazy. I want to say hello to Miss Denise. Thank you for jumping on. That's Candace's mom. Unfortunately, Candace is not here tonight. She just got back from vacation, and she took the night off because she's kind of wore out. But anyway, let's get into the meat and potatoes of tonight's.
Let's do it.
We got Mr. Tom Kilgannon. He's getting ready to come up on the screen with the Freedom Alliance, and then Tom is going to talk about the Freedom Alliance. So let's bring Mr. Tom up to the stage. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, Willis, great to be on HomeFront Sitrep. Brandon, good to see you too.
It's good to see you, sir.
Glad to
thanks.
be here. It's joining you from Winchester, Virginia, which is in the northwest part of the state. And glad to be on Memorial Day. As you said, it's a somber day. It's a day of reflection for a lot of tremendous heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice. Their families still mourn and grieve, and we think of them. And I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later. But let me just say how delighted I am to be with you guys.
Well, thank you for coming on. You were on Rich's show the other night with Misfit Nation, and he sent you, he connected me and you together right after the show. And I didn't have an episode scheduled for tonight because it was Memorial Day, and I was kind of like, do I want to do one? Do I not want to do one? But when he said, hey, you need to have these people on, I was like, all right. Memorial Day is all about remembering those that paid the ultimate sacrifice. Your organization focuses on Gold Star families And I was like, it just makes sense. And it was kind of like it was meant to be to have you guys on tonight. And thank you for coming on here. And so do me a favor and tell everybody who you are and a little bit of your backstory. And then we'll get into how you got involved with the Freedom Alliance and what you do with the Freedom Alliance and stuff like that.
Sure, happy to. Thanks, Willis. And so I am the president of Freedom Alliance, which is a educational and charitable organization. And as you said, we do a lot to help military families and wounded veterans. I've been doing this for more than 25 years now. It's been a great ride. I've gotten to know a lot of tremendous people, wonderful families, great veterans, and it's just rewarding work to be able to help them, and we'll talk about that. I think I'm, excited about this kind of work and gratified by it, in large part because I did not serve myself. I'm a civilian, and so ever since I've been here at Freedom Alliance, what I've come to know and learn about the military and veterans and military families has been through the work of Freedom Alliance, and it's just a lot of fun. So some of the work that we do, you talked about our work with Gold Star families. Much of that almost exclusively is done through our scholarship program. And so we provide college scholarships to kids whose parents were killed or disabled in military service. And right now, this year, we have almost 700 students on scholarship. We're now giving out about $2 to $2.5 million a year in tuition assistance. And so each of those scholarships is helping these kids to meet, as you know, the rising cost of a college education. It just keeps going up and up and up.
Yes.
But more importantly, what those scholarships do, it's a message, and it's a reminder to those kids that their parents' sacrifice is not going to be forgotten by a grateful nation. And so when we give these, we ask when students apply, they got to provide all the paperwork to make sure it's, they meet the criteria, and, you're not having any issues of stolen valor or that kind of thing.
Right.
But you get to know them through their essays a little bit. And then what we try to do, Willis, is for those students who would like us to be a part of their lives even more than just that scholarship. We have retreats for them. We have them participate in some of our other events. And we try to get to know them and offer them mentorship and guidance the way their dads, and in some cases their moms, would want them to have. And that's really a blessing to get to know so many. And in just a few weeks here, we will have a retreat for some of those Gold Star students. We'll bring them into the DC area, see the monuments, do some fun activities, go on a riverboat cruise. But one of the cornerstones of that event each year is going to Arlington Cemetery. And for some of these kids, they're just not able to travel and visit the resting place of their parent. And that's really a highlight, is to be able to go there, to sit with them, pray with them, cry with them, laugh with them, as they tell you about what they remember about their fallen hero, their dad. Those are just some of the things that we're doing with respect to the Gold Star families. We'll talk later about what we're doing with wounded veterans, but it's a real honor to get to know these families.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I know you were on the show Misfit Nation just the other night, and you had Reese on with you. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it tonight because she was at another event. But yeah, so when I was watching with Rich, and then I started, diving into the Freedom Alliance, and and as you can see at the beginning of the show, Lieutenant Colonel North is one of the co-founders. You made reference to him being a little under the weather, dealing with some personal issues. So I'm continuing to pray for him, because he was a badass, even though he was a little bit before my time. But he was definitely a badass in his day. And we're at HomeFront Sitrep. We're going to pray for that Marine, and hopefully with whatever he's dealing with, he'll come through on the other end. And but you guys at Freedom Alliance, we were talking a little bit before. Some of the programs that you guys offer, you have the scholarship fund, which you've already talked about, which is focused on family members of the fallen or wounded in combat. Then you got Presents for Patriots, gifts for children of combat and service wounded military veterans. You got gifts from home care packages, items to help America's deployed troops survive harsh and hostile climates. You got customized wheelchairs, heroes to homeowners, driven to serve. Then you got ramp, home improvement, and then rehabilitation and recovery. So when Freedom Alliance first started, what did they focus on? And then what was the process like to transition to have these other programs within the Freedom Alliance?
Yeah, so Freedom Alliance was when Colonel North started it, and thank you for your prayers for Ollie. He, in addition to being a badass, he's a man of faith, and he appreciates that very much. So thank you. When he founded the organization, it was right at the start of the first Gulf War. So care packages was the first and biggest project, and the scholarship program was put together at that time. But as you know, the first Gulf War was it was short-lived, thankfully, and it was out of the news within a matter of months. And so the organization, did some other things. It was a little bit of a challenge for internal reasons, and because when that activity of the war is not going on, it's hard to keep people's attention and see the need and all of that. When I came in, it was 1998, and then just a few short years after that, it was 9/11. And so, we've been going full blast since 9/11. And obviously, the care packages was something we continued because you all know how important those are. And it's, we've heard it's a morale boost, but it's also a great thing for practical reasons.
Oh, yeah.
And, just getting some of those things that you can't get at the local convenience store in downtown Kabul or places like that.
Correct.
And we've even had some unique requests in those care packages. And one of them I remember was silly string. And
nice.
We said, aren't you guys supposed to be fighting wars over there, not playing games? And they said, so from what I understand, this was it was like for EOD units that used it to find invisible or very hard to find tripwires.
Yep.
And so we loaded up, hundreds of boxes of silly string. Because awesome. That's what we were told was something that was going to help keep our guys alive. But we've sent hundreds of thousands of those care packages overseas. Now, how things have changed. You all were talking about the change in the media and the technology, and you had a lot of those. You had similar types of evolutions or changes when it comes to the programmatic types of things or the needs that troops had while they were serving overseas. So one of the first things that we did right after 9/11 was collect phone cards, and you send the phone cards overseas so that troops could call home. Well, as personal cell phones and fobs, got outfitted, they became less necessary, and we started sending some other things. And then you get to a point where you've got a lot of troops coming home who are wounded, and they're in the hospitals. And so we had activities dedicated to those in the hospitals and the rehab centers. So we would do a lot of dinners or outings, in the immediate vicinity of the hospitals as they were able to get out. At first it's just for a short period of time, then it's a few hours, then maybe it's a day or two. As they're in the rehab centers, it's a little bit longer, but also for the parents or the spouses who are just, they're at their loved one's bedside and they're just there 24/7, and they need a break. They need something to take their mind off it. So you help them as well. And then as they begin to have all those surgeries and they're in rehab, then you'd have different types of activities like our outdoor activities where you take them fishing or hunting into the sunshine and the wilderness, and let them relax out there. And now we're in a stage where really it's there's a lot of focus on the emotional injury or the moral injury, and all of our camping trips or fishing trips, there's plenty of fun activity to do. But when you get back in the afternoon, you have serious conversation, structured conversation. Not always serious, a lot of laughs in there, but you deal with very serious issues, as you all know, and it can get deep, it can get personal, and we try and structure it in such a way that vets who have been there, done that, are able to help the younger ones who are now just beginning to deal with these issues of pain and grief and survivor's guilt and things of that nature. So over the course of 20 years of war, the kinds of needs that combat veterans have certainly evolved, but by no means have they gone away.
Right.
And they are very much still there. They are acute. Even for somebody like me who has been involved in this for a while, I think I'm a little bit surprised at how much of a need there is. And so if there's any takeaway for the audience, it's even though you're not seeing stories or headlines or front page, exposés, the need of veterans is still great, and we've got to continue to help them and their families.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100% on that. You were talking about the care packages. So I got a cousin right now he's a sergeant first class in the Army, and they were deployed to a base, and I had them on the show recently, but when they got there to the base that they're at, there was no recreational gear for them. So when they were not on duty, they were able to, go out and do sports and stuff like that, but there was nothing there for them to do. So they called back home, and we put some posts out there about getting some softball, bats, balls, gloves, stuff like that for them to have while they're over there. And then within, I guess, a couple of weeks, we had jerseys for them. We had bats, gloves, balls, everything, and other things as well, recreational wise, and everything was shipped over to them. And they were very thankful, because when you're overseas in a situation like they were in, to be able to have that downtime, to have that freedom to relax, where you're not hyper vigilant on everything that's going on around you. Those care packages are lifesavers.
And I would agree with that. They really are. Like when I was in Iraq, one of the things I loved in the care packages I would get, my mom was an elementary school teacher, and she'd have these elementary school kids write me, stuff. Yeah. And I didn't, stupid, misspelled, crazy, whatever. I didn't care. For that moment while I'm reading that letter, I'm not thinking about, shots fired. I'm not thinking about nothing. I'm just thinking about, this is cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot.
We had, so two quick examples, over the years. One time I remember, like with the sporting equipment, we got a request for soccer balls and footballs and tennis balls and things like that. And it turned out that what these units wanted them for was to engage with the local children, and to try and win hearts and minds as they were going into I think this was in Afghanistan, and in other cases, just sort of keep them occupied as other troops did what they needed to do. And then another time we got we got a special request. So as you know, let me back up a second. As you know, when your typical care package is going to include things like socks and sunscreen and sunglasses and chewing gum and things like that. And so normally when we would get requests, the females in the office would go out and get all those items and do all of that. This one time we got this special request from somebody we knew who was deployed, and they were kind of out in the wilderness, and they needed to sort of build their own facilities, just a little bit of, but they had no tools. Yeah. So they said, we need a few saws and hammers and pliers and power tools and things like that. And so on that request, all the men in the office said, we'll take that one. We'll go to Home Depot.
Exactly.
Heck yeah. No, I love it. No, I love it. Brandon, you pulled up the website. Is there a reason why you threw that up there?
I had it down just in case you wanted to pull up their website or whatever.
All right.
Sorry, the producer in me just.
No, you're good. You're good.
My bad.
So these outdoor adventures that you guys do, you got outdoor adventures, offshores experience, War Heroes on Water, you got couples retreat.
Yeah, can I mention that real quick? Because I'm on y'all's site and I saw a couples retreat and I'm actually looking at it. I have the application up because it's perfect. Because I have been in and out of psych units and I've been doing the work and all the, PTSD, whatever. However, my wife is just sitting there, doesn't know how to help me. I mean, luckily my wife's a psych nurse, but I got lucky. But you never hear about organizations doing something for the significant other, the husband, the wife, or whatever. And that struck me as amazing. Can you go into a little bit about maybe why you guys decided to do a couples retreat?
Yeah, a lot of, I think in the early years of the wars, what we would find is that you'd be engaged with the veteran, the wounded veteran, and you'd be dealing with him and talking with him. But as you got to know his family, got to know his spouse, a lot of times it was the spouse who would call us and say, hey, Joe just, he really needs something. He needs some time away. Can you help him out? Can you take him on one of your trips? Right. And so we would do that. And then other times they would say, hey, I really need some time to myself. Can you take Joe on one of your trips and get him out of here?
Yep.
And you come to realize really quick how much stress and difficulty and challenge there is for the spouse. Because if you think about it, it is the spouse who is the wife, the mother, the primary caregiver, the friend, the lover, the doctor, the nurse. They're playing all these roles to one degree or another, and that is a tremendous burden to carry. I have seen in hospitals where it is the spouse, the female spouse, who is playing the traffic cop among doctors. Where one doctor come in, write this on the chart, prescribe that, and then another doctor comes in and prescribes, another medicine, and it is she who says, "Hey, wait a minute, doesn't this medicine that you just prescribed conflict with this other one that the other?"
Yep.
And they'll look at the chart again and say, "Oh, yeah, let me change that." And I can't tell you how many times I saw that, so it's the spouse who plays all these roles, and we wanted to serve both of them, because you can do this a lot of ways. You can have the veteran out by himself, you can have the spouse out by herself, or you can bring them out together. So we try to take them to great places where it's relaxing, where you have other couples, and hopefully they're more or less on the same page, have similar experiences. And, just like the veterans retreats, they're talking to one another, they're laughing, they're crying, and they're addressing issues that need to be addressed. Now, we don't do this in a way where we have a professional counselor or, a 3-step
Right.
program or anything like that. It's really peer to peer. It's based on relaxation, trying to get away from the kids and the phones and the emails and everything. Just put them in an environment where they can just begin to let it out a little bit. And for some couples, they just need to enjoy one another. For other couples, they need to have a heart-to-heart conversation. For others, it's a combination of the two. So that's what we try to do on ours. Right now, we've got one of our board members hosts one of these retreats each year at their home. It's on a lake, so you have activities. We have another one that takes place with horses at a horse farm.
Okay.
And we've had others out west in the mountains. And so it's just a wonderful experience to see how much it helps. Just time, relaxation, and a little bit of friendship.
No, that's awesome.
That's
because
amazing.
I know for me, like my wife and I wasn't married when I was in the military. And we started dating at the end of my tenure in the military. And she told me that if I went back in that we would be divorced or not together. And unfortunately, when I decided to join the Army right after I got done in 2004, the good Lord had other plans for me, because the Army said, no, we can't take you. They came up with some excuse of I had asthmatic symptoms as a child. I'm like, Doc, I got 2 honorable discharges, and here's my original orders with your signature saying I can go in the Marine Corps, but you're telling me I can't go in the Army.
Right.
So I think the good Lord had other plans for me, because I wouldn't be married for almost 20 years. I wouldn't have a daughter that's a senior and another one that's a junior that'll be want to be graduating next year, going into the Air Force. She wants to be an FBI agent when she gets out of, that's her career choice that she wants to do. And then my youngest, when she graduates the year after, she wants to be a combat medic. And then she wants to be a high school history teacher. And we've let them choose their own path in life. I haven't discouraged them, from joining the military or anything like that. But my wife, getting back to the main point, my wife doesn't really understand a lot of the stuff that I seen when I was in the military, and my children don't either. And I do a good job of sheltering them from that, because some of my experiences that with my PTS and stuff like that, I try to do, keep them at bay as much as possible. But I think a couples retreat for the wife and I, where, she can be around, maybe other spouses dealing with the same or similar issues that she's dealing with, with my PTS, waking up at 2:00 in the morning, sweating from head to toe. And I think that's amazing that you guys do couples retreats, and you focus on the family aspect of things too, because we mentioned it earlier, the family serve too, just in a different way. So that's amazing that you guys do that.
And I'll mention it real quick, and then we'll move on. But with me and my wife, we got married well after I was out. But where we live, there's nowhere for her to meet other veteran spouses that are going through it. So she, I don't know if she reaches out online or what, but I mean, it's hard to find. Okay, I can go anywhere within the Tri-Cities area where I'm at and find something for a veteran, but you can't find something for your wife to go sit down and talk to other people and know that she's not alone. So I'm going to look really heavy at coming to one of your couples retreats, but I mean, that's just amazing. I rarely see that. I really wanted to plug it.
Great. And yeah, just to, I mean, you all know I think both of you have similar circumstances. So you're married after you got out,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, you're aware of the statistics and for those who are married while serving, and
Yes.
the more deployments you have, the higher the likelihood is for divorce. You know, the more injuries, things like that, and we've got to try to keep these marriages together, because if they fall apart, then we refer to that as another casualty of war,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And
Yeah. I have several broken relationships. Like I got the woman that I was with while I was in the military. We don't talk to each other, and we have a child together. And it destroys families, and it rots the core. Especially as a man and my values. I've always wanted a family. I want to be a provider. And it rots at the core because I am the way that I was trained, and that's how I call my PTS. I'm not broken. I'm the way I was trained. It just tears apart that fabric, and it's just horrible.
yeah, we've had a number of times when we've had these events where the spouse, where the veteran is relaxed enough to talk, and the spouse reveals at some point, that's the first time he ever said that. That's the first time he ever talked about that. In fact, there was one time I was doing a Q&A with a couple in front of a group of donors. Just, what's your story? How, how'd you serve? Where were you? This and that. And both the veteran and his wife were up on stage with me. And I could sense something, because afterwards she said, he never talked about that before. And for the first time, he does it in front of an audience. But it was, for whatever reason, it was just the right setting for him, where he felt comfortable enough to say, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Because it was the conversation was going in such a way that I could see he was a little bit agitated, and both his wife and I said, we can stop here. Do you want to? And he said, no, I want to continue. He took, just a moment, and out it came. So it's creating that that environment of trust, and comfort.
Yeah.
Where they feel like they can talk.
Yeah, because you've got the other veterans sitting out there, and us as veterans, now we're back in our comfort zone, our camaraderie, our brotherhood. And I think that adds a lot to making somebody stronger and willing to say, this is what I did, because you can look out at the crowd and somebody else probably went through the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, what I said before about just ours are fairly laid back, and there's not a professional counselor or this or that, and it's because we've found in the veterans we've worked with, they don't want another questionnaire. They don't want to say this stuff is bullshit. We gotta.
Yep.
But and if you can create an environment where they don't have to, give you a 5 or a 6 or an 8 or a 10 or whatever, it's just going to be more genuine, I think.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I'm sorry, I have a bunch of questions, Willis. I'm sorry, man. I come on your show and damn take over. Jesus.
Go for it, man. Go for it.
Jarhead. But the couples retreats, as much as we've talked about the trauma and the the discord that's in the relationships, those are the lucky ones. They're actually the lucky ones that get to go in with their veteran and talk. What about these Gold Star families that the only way they're going to know what their son or their daughter did is by the other veterans or a videotape. That's when, especially at Memorial Day, while we're sitting here, that's the big tug of the heartstring is these Gold Star families.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a situation, I think it was last year or the year before, at one of our events in which we had one of our staff. So I mentioned a student retreat where we bring our Gold Star kids in. And when we do that, we have the names of their dads on the back of the T-shirts that we provide. And so one of our staff members was wearing that shirt a few weeks later at a veterans retreat, and two of the veterans said to him, "What's the deal with the names on the back of the shirt?"
Right.
He said, "These are the fathers of some of our scholarship recipients. They're all Gold Star. We just had an event, etc." And they said, that name, we served with him. So we arranged it so that they came to an event later in the year where that student would be, and those veterans were able to take their friend's daughter, now 20 years old in college.
Right.
And sorry, it's emotional just talking about it.
Right.
And telling her what a great guy her dad was, and it's the fun stuff. They're not doing all the formal. They're saying, your dad was a goofball, and he was, he would tell this joke like every day, and he would eat his cereal in a certain way, or interact with they're telling him who he was, and what how he made them laugh, and how he made them feel safe, and how the kind of friendship he provided to them. And it's boy, if you're ever in a situation like that, you probably have been. It is laughter, it is tears.
Yep. Yep.
Wow, it is just an amazing experience. And we see that a fair amount, where we put our scholarships up on stage, and I remember one time out in California, we had a dinner, and one of our scholarship students gets up, and a picture of her dad up on the screen. And then after she gets and sits down later, somebody in the audience comes up and says, "I served with your dad. He was a great man." And they had an hour conversation.
Right.
We've seen that a number of times, and every time it happens, it gets you right there.
Oh yeah. Of course. It definitely pulls on the heartstrings. And to go back to the point earlier, when you're talking about veterans being around other veterans, I got a friend that is an ambassador for Warrior Rounds out of Nashville, but he lives here in Kentucky, and he's got a 28-foot trailer that's got Warrior Rounds and stuff, and he travels around to all these different events where the Vietnam traveling wall is set up, and he goes and he does his talk and spiel. And he was up in West Virginia. I forget where he was at in West Virginia, but he was at the wall, and this couple comes up to him, and James is talking to the wife, and they had been married for 20 plus years. And she goes, he never talks about his military service. And James goes, "He'll talk to me." And she said, "No, he won't. No, he won't." So James is, talking to a group, doing his spiel about, because he's a Somalia vet during Operation Gothic Serpent, during Black Hawk Down, for people that don't know, but Black Hawk Down. And he's telling his story, and all of a sudden he sees tears rolling out of the veteran's eye. And as soon as James is done, the veteran walks up to James and just starts talking and lets loose, like just a flood of stuff that he's seen and stuff that he went through. And his wife was just jaw drop down to the ground because she's never heard none of it. And after 20 plus years, she's never heard anything. And something for us veterans, when we get around other veterans that are like-minded or have been through similar situations, we do get in that comfortable zone, and we're able to open up and talk about our experiences and stuff like that, especially if it's somebody that might have went to something similar to what we had. And I talk about it on numerous times about just sitting around a campfire with other veterans and sharing our stories. That's where we feel very, very comfortable. And it doesn't matter what the event is. I was on a podcast with an organization that Two Wolf Foundation is the name of the organization. They take veterans in a 6-man team, and they go to all these national parks and help do land conservation, stuff like that. If the fences are broke, they fix it. And these 6 veterans are in these 3 Toyota Tundras that the organization has, and they travel, whether it be 11-day or 12-day adventure, and they travel to all these different spots, and they have different things to do. And at the end of the night, when they're done with hard working through that day, of course they're building a camaraderie all day long. And then they get back, they break bread and just sit around a campfire. And the healing, the healing aspect of just being around other veterans that are very like-minded is it works. And
I've always said when the shit talk begins, the healing begins.
yes.
And a lot of civilians look at me like I'm crazy, but it's true. Once the veterans are comfortable enough to start joking and shit talking, which is, in my experience, is only a couple hours after meeting. You got to feel out. That's when the healing begins, because then you're comfortable enough. I'm gonna joke about how fat your mom is, and stuff like that. That's when the healing begins, and it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling.
I mean, that's being just meeting, like you said, just meeting a veteran. Like if I was out at an event and I'm uncomfortable because I'm the only veteran there, but if I meet another veteran,
instantly,
it's like this instantly, and we're stuck like glue for the rest of the rest of the event. And we talk, and it's like we're brothers from the minute we met. It's just like I've known him for 20 years, even though I've just met him. And that's something I can say about the brotherhood of veterans and military personnel is no matter where we're at, no matter when we served, we're brothers. Matter of fact, I was out working the other day for my day job, and next door neighbor, I was working on this house, and the next door neighbor was out mowing his grass, and he had a Vietnam veteran hat on. And I couldn't see his pins or anything. It didn't say what branch or anything like. So after I got done doing what I was doing, he was out watering his flowers and stuff. And I said, "Excuse me, sir. I want to say welcome home first, because he's a Vietnam veteran." That's one of the first things I always say, because Vietnam veterans didn't get that. And then I asked him, I said, "What branch did you serve?" He said, I was a Marine. I was in the Marine Corps." I was like, "Really?" I said, "Semper Fi," because I'm a Marine. That's my next thing. I said, "Semper Fi." And we sat there and talked for 30 minutes, and this guy, Mr. Mudd is his name. And he added me on Facebook. I mean, pretty much instantaneously. He's like, "You do and we got talking about the podcast and stuff like that. And one of the things that I like doing is bringing in veterans to tell their story. And he's a Vietnam vet, so he's up in age. Guess what? His stories are going to die with him when he dies. So sometimes I like to bring just veterans on just to tell their story, because the way we keep their memory alive is if we talk about them. Speaking of Memorial Day, we talk about people who have passed, and we remember and we honor their sacrifice. And that's so yeah, I love doing that, and I love what Freedom Alliance does. Let's touch a little bit about some of your other events that you guys do, and on these events, do veterans have to be rated from the VA? How do they go about getting into some of these events if they want to get into like your outdoor adventures or offshore experience or War Heroes on Water?
Yeah, most of our programs are for post 9/11 vets and combat wounded. I think in some cases it's 100% VA, other times maybe like 80%. But you look at the circumstances of what it is. So those are the kind of veterans that we're taking out on the events. And the War Heroes on Water, which you mentioned, that'll take place in, I think it's September this year. It is in Southern California, and that is a huge fishing tournament. And so we will have about 50 boats, 110 veterans, and you get two or three to a boat, and you go out for a few days and you catch fish. Those that do, you bring them in, you weigh them, you give out prizes and awards. But what that becomes is really about 50 different retreats all in one. Because when you're out on the boat, those two or three veterans they're talking. As one said to us, it's you get on the boat, you go out there, you have about 10, 15 minutes of the BS conversation. How's the weather and where you're from? And then it begins to get real, as you were just talking about. Yep. One of the things that we really love about this is that the captains and the crew members get really involved. And the veterans not only bond with each other, but they bond with these crew members. And in many cases, these crew members then become the go-to when the veteran is having a hard time. And he'll call that person and say, I just need to talk, or if they're in the vicinity, can we get together? And so that's a real leverage for a small organization like Freedom Alliance to have these other people that the veteran can reach out to. And that's just a wonderful show of volunteerism and love and support in the California community. These are like some of the best fishing yachts in the world with literally world-class sports fishermen. And so these are people who they love what they do, and they love teaching their craft to the veterans, and the veterans love learning about it and reeling them in. And so it becomes a big family type of atmosphere, and it's just great. We just had a group of 12 veterans up in Sitka, Alaska for a fishing trip. And it's just beautiful country up there. And the community every year welcomes us, the fire department, the police, the Coast Guard, the restaurants, the small business community. Everybody is pitching in to offer vets just something a little bit different and have a great time. The other place where we have these kinds of events is down in Costa Rica. And so there is just amazing fishing down there. There's a community down there, a resort of mostly Americans that have opened their hearts to us over the years. And so now we have a full-time staffer down in Costa Rica who's bringing in smaller groups, usually 3 or 4, for about 4 or 5 days, sometimes a week. And in some cases doing mission trips, other times same kind of thing, just in a different atmosphere. You go out, you're fishing, or you do zip lining or something like that, and you come back in the afternoon and you have conversation. That one is a little bit more structured and homework involved. And as veterans progress through our variety of offerings, if they really need to dig deep, that's where we send them.
Awesome. Now, I want to ask this question because there's a lot of female veterans out there, and we do focus a lot on female vets, because a lot of times their service is sometimes overlooked. Do you have events strictly just for female veterans that are not co-ed events? Because there's a lot of female veterans out there that don't feel comfortable going on like adventures with male vets as well. So do you guys focus on female vets as well?
We've had some over the years. So we've had a few groups of female vets down in Costa Rica that I just mentioned. At our War Heroes on Water, we usually have 2 or 3 boats for just female veterans. So it's sort of, the bigger event is co-ed, but the smaller event on the boat is not. And we've had a few others. It is, you're absolutely right about females. And I think from the public's perspective, the male veterans get more sympathy than the females, unfortunately.
I've noticed that throughout my time, and some of these female warriors, if you sit down and listen to their story, like MST and other things, I mean, sometimes I sit and I wonder what's worse, me going over in Iraq and getting blown up, or what the hell just happened to you? So it's a shame that is how it is. But
yeah, so their problems are unique, and it's because there's fewer of them. They're harder to track down. In some cases, they have family responsibilities that don't allow them to get out. But when we can make it work, we certainly do. And we've been blessed to get to know some wonderful women veterans.
And I do want to ask this. You said that, you've got the event in SoCal and Costa Rica and other places. So the event in Southern California, is that just for California vets? Do you guys fly, bus people out, or how does that work?
That is, no, vets come in from across the country. We do get a lot from California. We have, we have about 100, and it's a mix between, we've been doing this now for 7 or 8 years. So it's a mix between those who are joining us for the first time and alumni.
Got it.
So this year we've got them all selected. I think it's something like 60-40 new to alumni. And the reason that's important is because you want, as you said before, you want the newer guys to feel comfortable. And so you provide mentors to them, those vets who will, help them sort of navigate their way through the 5 days of what's going on. And, but that's a great event.
So with the female veterans, I think a lot of things is a lot of female veterans won't put their name in a hat out there because a lot of organizations don't strictly focus on female veterans, or they don't have a lot of events for just female veterans only. I know I had She's the Veteran, which is an organization out of South Carolina. They focus strictly on female veterans. And then She Serves She Rose, which is a mouthful to say, but She Serves She Rose. They also focus on female vets. And when I was talking with both of Brooke Kahn and Marquetta, they're like, female veterans are starting to come out more. Like they're starting to get involved with organizations and stuff like that, which is amazing because female veterans, a lot of them, have different experiences than Brandon or myself, and
right.
And here's some of their stories. It's just like, holy shit, you went through that. I mean, whether they're an MP or a combat medic, or in some of the situations that they went through are just as bad as some of the male veterans out there, if not worse in some cases. I'll
tell you one of some of the stories I've heard from females, and if there's any civilians in your audience, this will maybe help them understand the struggles. So we talked a little bit earlier about moral injury, emotional injury, and that's the guilt, the things that happened that veterans did or didn't do that scar the heart and the soul, and you have to live with it. So the females, and you guys know this, they served on the FETs, the female engagement teams, and they would say that I think particularly in Afghanistan, they'd be at checkpoints to be able to pat down Afghan females. And sometimes they'd go into the village or into homes where you have a family or men and women, and the male veterans would be trying to perhaps interrogate the males. The females would take the Afghan women into a separate room because the men could not do that. And so whether it was an actual interrogation or whether it was just a benign conversation, they might get some information that then allows the Army or the Marines to do an operation, a week later. And some of these females would tell me, so we'd get that information, and then we'd go back to the same village or the same house, maybe a month or two later, and you see the same female that you talked to, except they're missing fingers.
Yep.
Or they're burned on their faces, or they've been beaten, and that American female soldier knows that it's because of what she learned and she told her superiors that Afghan woman was tortured or killed, or the child was beaten, or whatever. Can you imagine the stress, the anxiety, the guilt that accompanies that female? And so that's just one example of what they're dealing with. And I can't imagine it. And I really feel bad that they have to carry that kind of burden because it hurts them. You can see it in their eyes.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, they deal with different situations than their male counterparts out there. And to see that, somebody who gave them information a couple weeks prior, they go back out and they're missing fingers or they're burned. It's that would be crazy. I mean, for like my situation when I was in Haiti, the stuff that I seen there as a 19-year-old fresh out of Kentucky, never been in a third world country, much less been out of the United States, to see that stuff, it was crazy. But just to see what those females went through in that situation like that is, I can only fathom the guilt that they feel and that they carry for the rest of their life. Because I do this podcast as a therapy for me. It never minimizes. I mean, it minimizes my PTS, but it never eliminates.
Right.
And sometimes I'm selfish in the fact that I do this podcast. If it was up to me, I would do one every day of the week. But I gotta make sure I do my work, family, podcast balance, and it just blows my mind. So I'm definitely going to look into the couples retreat for myself and my wife, just because I think we struggle with our marriage, because I don't think I don't think she understands fully what I went through when I was in the military. And I think that might help us. Can't say that it will.
Well, here's my big thing. She doesn't know, my wife doesn't know what I went through, but I don't know what she's going through.
Yeah.
I'm too busy trying to keep myself together.
Yeah.
That I don't take the time to see what she's going through. And I think that's where the healing can begin. That's why I'm going to look into the couples retreat. But I mean, it's important.
No, I'm right there with you. My wife has been through a lot in the last 5 years, and she's still, dealing with the, raising our kids. Of course, I'm home, but I was always gone working. Like I worked 6 days out of the week and had one day off, and usually that was my day to relax. And then the last 2 years, I now work Monday through Friday. So I'm starting to see more things, but when it comes to like our finances and stuff like that, she does all that because I don't.
Yep.
And I love my wife, and she's she's a banker, and she's taken my credit because my first wife, I was married in the military when I was 20 or 21. I was married young. I was one of the dumb ones. I got married to a local yokel in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and
Yep.
I was infantry. I was infantry, so I was always gone. I was, even though I was stateside, I would be deployed out in the field for 7 to 11 days, come back, be home for the weekend, the next week back in the field again, and then I would deploy overseas. Well, we dated for a year and a half, and I was out of that year and a half. I added it up not too long ago. I think out of that year and a half, I was there maybe 5 months total, but that was sporadic through that year and a half. We got married October of 99. I brought her home to Kentucky for Thanksgiving that year. When we were heading back to North Carolina, she goes, "I'm never going back to Kentucky." I was like, okay. So I knew right then it was kind of over already. And we just got married. We get back to Lejeune. I deployed to California to Sierra Nevadas for cold weather training, December 1st. Come back December 30th, caught her in bed with a Navy guy. And ever since then, it was just downhill. So, but my current wife is amazing. She's an amazing mom. She's just, she's amazing. She took my credit score from 300 to 800 plus. And
nice.
So, she's, like I said, she's a banker, and she's one of those that worries about everything. And I'm like, babe, and I'm not a worrier. Like I worry internally. I don't wear it on my shoulders like she does. I'm like, babe, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll work out like it's supposed to. And, but no, she's been through a lot, with the passing of her dad, her stepdad, and, my dad just passed away recently, and my stepdad passed away recently, and some other deaths in the family. And it's just like, I think a couples retreat would help us both to understand where we're both coming from and to hash out some things. So I'm definitely going to look into the couples retreat, because I think it's something that could possibly more than likely help us. It's just awesome what you guys do.
Well, Willis, I just say, in the meantime, if you would just put the toilet seat down a little more often, it might help.
That's not happening.
So
I'm a king. I know my worth. Well, that toilet seat goes up.
Well, I'm lucky to the fact that she has her own bathroom, and I have a half.
Oh, that's even better. You're a king.
Yeah, I have a half bath. It's just a sink and a toilet.
That's all you need, bro.
Yeah, that's all I need. When I need a shower, I go into her bathroom. I have to ask permission, but she's got her own bathroom.
Well, that's even better. Yeah. I do want to ask, Tom, is Freedom Alliance a 501(c)(3), and where can people donate?
Yes, Freedom Alliance is a 501(c)(3) charitable organization. So we exist on the generosity of the American public. So people can go to freedomalliance.org/donate and make a contribution. We really appreciate it. freedomalliance.org/donate. And it's we're grateful that we've got a wonderful group of people who have sustained us for a lot of years, but eventually you've got to bring in some new supporters as well, and but they make it happen, and what we do is because of people who have contributed, from their paychecks, from their whatever their ability is. So for some it's great, for others it's a little less so, but it's all meaningful. It comes from the heart, and so people are generous to us, and we're thankful for it.
Well, I've told people, even $1 can help save a life, and I mean that. Like, oh, yeah. I've had to go through some stuff. I've 3 suicide attempts, long freaking story, but a similar story to many vets. I was a raging alcoholic, this, that, and the other. And I've had to do some of these soul searching veteran retreats. And if it, sometimes I think if somebody hadn't given that one extra dollar, that could have cost me a flight or something. So, some people are like, I can't donate, this is an organization I really want to give. I like to give $1.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can, I know times are tough, whatever, but everything helps. I wouldn't be alive today if somebody hadn't given $1. I can 100% guarantee that.
No, I agree with you 100%. Every little bit helps. Website is at the bottom of the screen right now. It's also in chat. It's freedomalliance.org. Something I just noticed, if you go to the website and you go over to frequently asked questions, one of the questions is, what is the best way to volunteer? So if you want to volunteer with Freedom Alliance, you can go to the website, freedomalliance.org, go to frequently asked questions, the right-hand column, the very last question, it says, what is the best way to volunteer? You can organize a care package drive, and there's a link there that you can click on. You can donate gas cards and gift cards. There's a link there for that. You can also host a fundraiser, whether it be a golf tournament, a 5K charity run, movie night, or other fun event, that all proceeds would be able to go to the Freedom Alliance, which would be amazing to help these guys out. You can also, if you want to stay informed, you can join the email list. You can also follow them on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube as well. I'm probably still in a little bit of your thunder there, Tom, but I'm trying to hit all the good things here. And then another thing that I like about your website is if you go over to About Us, you got a section called Transparency.
Yeah.
And if I'm assuming that's going to be your 990s and stuff, am I correct?
That's correct. I think we've got our audit up there too.
See, that's amazing, because a lot of organizations will not put those up there, and I like the fact that you can actually go to your website, click on About Us, go down to Transparency, and you could see where all the money goes to. That's awesome, because with me focusing on veteran service organizations, a lot of times I don't know what's a good organization, what's a bad organization. Now, granted, I know there's websites out there that I can go and pull every 990 out there for the organizations that I got coming on. I just love the fact that you guys have it on the website and it's there for anybody just to go to and click on. That's awesome.
Well, and that just shows me you're not the original Wounded Warrior Project. I think I've said all I need to say about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And there's another website. It's called greatnonprofits.org. And what's different about that one is once you're signed up with them, the organization is signed up with them. It's a mechanism wherein the constituents, whether it's the veteran or the spouse or whomever, can go on there and write a review of, what their experience was. And so it's, I think, that gives it's a little bit of a different perspective, because sometimes with the nature of this work, it's hard to put it in translated into dollars and cents, because you're dealing with people's lives. And
yes.
And it's just hard. I don't know what to say about it.
No, you're absolutely right. And when it comes to nonprofits, there's so many veteran nonprofits up there, and every day it seems like a new nonprofit starting. And a lot of times when these nonprofits start, they start for the right reasons.
Right.
And then once the nonprofit starts moving along, a lot of times the original founders lose focus of why they started. And that it's just great that you guys have been, around for 20 plus years, and your mission still holds true. And I'm assuming that you're the president now, but you probably recently took over that position. I don't how long have you been the president? Let's put it that way.
Since I started, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of nonprofits out there, they rotate positions within the board. Like I know American Freedom Fund, when Don Bramer and the crew started American Freedom Fund, they said it in their bylaws that every so many years they have to rotate positions. So if Don was the president this term, well, next term he'd have to go to a different position within that. And then he's actually to the point now where he's done every position that he could. So now he's going to move into an advisor role. And I know, like, if you go to your website, about us, who we are, and then you scroll down, you have your founder, which Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. If you're out there, you wasn't paying attention, make sure you say prayers for Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. He needs prayers at the present moment in time. And then you have your board of directors, and then you got your senior staff. Then you got your professional staff as well. What is like your turnover like with your senior staff and stuff like that? Is there a lot of turnover, or do people stay very well connected to the organization?
I'd say we've been blessed with great staff over the years, and we've got a relatively small staff for the amount of work that we do. I often say that for the amount of output that we have, or the number of events, we probably should have 2, maybe even 2.5 or 3 times the number of staff that we have. But they give a lot, and they're great, and they're dedicated. We've been very blessed to have wonderful people who have stayed a long time. So if you see up on that page, I think Calvin is up there with me. He's been here. This year is 25 years for him.
Oh man!
D, our chief financial officer, is at is it 15 years maybe. We've got another staff member who's been here 27, 28 years. But a lot of our team is around, I'd say, between 8 and 12 years that they've been with the organization. And so, I think that says a lot about our mission and the meaning of our work. Our staff really get a lot of, that when veterans, when service members leave the military and go into veteran status, one of the things they miss is the sense of purpose.
100%.
So for our staff, I think they feel a great sense of purpose in the work that they do.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, you hit it right on the head, because when we do get out, we do lose that sense of purpose, and we lose that sense of camaraderie that we had while we were in the military. Like for me, I know when I got out in 2001, I wasn't out. I got out so I was on terminal leave August of 2001, officially EAS'd on September 1st.
Right.
9/11 happened. I told my mom, I said, be ready for Western Union because I'm going back. Sure enough, about a month later, I got to Western Union. Please report back to Camp Lejeune for combat refresher training, and went back. But after I got out in 2004, that void was there. It was like, what do I do now? So I, at first I didn't know what I was getting into or what I was going to get into. I had a job, but it still wasn't filling what I needed. So I started, volunteering with charity organizations and stuff like that. And that filled the void. And, now that I have kids that are older, I got them involved as well. And then I joined a board of an organization. And unfortunately, me and the founder didn't see eye to eye on things. And I stepped down, I resigned, and then I didn't do anything for a while. And I was like, all right, I want to start a podcast. So I started looking into, how to do a podcast, and started researching other veteran podcasters and seeing what they were talking about. And I was like, something's missing, because nobody was talking about veteran service organizations. Yeah, every now and then there was hit or miss where somebody would come on, talk about the veteran service organization that they were representing, but it was few and far between. And so I was like, that's what I want to focus on is the mom and pop, the grassroots veteran service organizations out there that are still doing it for the right reason, not because they're worried about where funding's coming from. They're really actually currently worried about the veteran that they're working for, or the veteran that they're trying to help. And you guys definitely fit the mold. You've been around 20 plus years, and you guys have never strayed from your mission, your original mission, and you've added programs to help with that mission and other missions. Mr. Christopher Raymond asked, what does the Freedom Alliance exactly do? I missed it. Chris, the Freedom Alliance,
What don't
focuses
they
on,
do?
yeah, what they don't do. Here, I'm gonna post this up here, Chris. There's the link to their website. They focus on Gold Star families. All right, let me go back up here. So we'll just read off a little bit of what they do, since he wasn't here at the beginning. So they have military support programs. They got a scholarship fund for wounded warriors and Gold Star families. They got presents for patriots, gifts for home care packages. They send care packages overseas to active duty deployed military personnel. They do customized wheelchairs, heroes to homeowners, Driven to Serve, which is a program that helps veterans payment-free vehicles for combat wounded service members. They also have a ramp home improvement program. They have a rehabilitation and recovery program. Then they have another whole list of other programs as well that are called Adventures and Experience. So they got outdoors adventures, offshore experience, War Heroes on Waters, a couples retreat, Defender of Freedom, and Army Navy weekend. And your Defender of Freedom, that's your annual fundraiser, your big fundraiser, correct?
Yeah, annual dinner. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. But Chris, Chris is the founder of Veteran Hundo Club. What they're building, so it took them 7 years to develop Veteran Hundo Club. And what they did, him and Mr. Finch, his partner, they're building kind of like a Rolodex of veteran service organizations, veteran lawyers, veteran business owners. They're just putting everything together under one umbrella, kind of, sort of. They're bringing in, and it's a military rank structure. What they're doing is, I've never put it this way, in my year and a half of doing podcasting and my 20 plus years of veteran service organizations, what they're building at Hundo Club, I haven't seen been done on the scale that they're doing. So
yeah, that's that's really needed. So that's appreciated, because very often, sometimes somebody will come to us and say, "Hey, we need help with X."
Yeah,
Right.
Well, we don't do X. We don't have any expertise there.
Yeah.
But you want to be able to refer them to somebody who does it. So my hat's off to them. And, I wanted to address something you were talking about a little bit earlier, where you were talking about the sense of purpose and transitioning out. and this is, for all the vets who are listening. Well, I think one of the things that makes Freedom Alliance a little bit different from some organizations is that we encourage you to embrace your warrior spirit, or and oftentimes you hear organizations, when they're talking about the the transition from active duty to veteran status, we hear these phrases like become a civilian again and go back to the civilian world and learn to be a civilian again and things like that. And that's something that maybe about 10 years ago, myself and our team looked at and we said, we're saying this, but it doesn't feel right. It doesn't sound right. And we did a little reading, we did a little research, and we embraced this theory that that's a lot of nonsense. You're a warrior, and you ought to embrace the warrior spirit. And as you live with your veteran status longer, you become an elder warrior. And so you are trained to transition from a civilian into a warrior. You went to war, you went to combat, you had those experiences, and that doesn't go away, and it shouldn't go away. And so you have to embrace it and learn to be the warrior within that civilian society. But as the warrior and as that elder statesman or warrior, you have experiences that we civilians don't have. You have wisdom and knowledge and pain and hurt and love and joy that we never experienced because we did not do that training. We were not in the fires of combat. And so you're able to, whether it's as a little league coach or a teacher or a business executive or a professor at a college or a podcast host, you're able to educate the public on things that we won't understand, or we can learn and we can understand it from an academic perspective or things like that. But you've got lessons to teach, and we don't. So at Freedom Alliance, we're not encouraging you to going back to being a civilian. We feel like once you become that warrior, you're always that warrior.
Yeah.
You're going to live that experience a little bit differently than you were when you were on active duty, but that's who you are. So embrace it.
No, I agree with you.
I'm
100%.
glad to hear you say that too, because what I wouldn't give to be a regular civilian and be able to sit and eat without having to find my egress and regress and who's where and what's. Yeah. It's yeah.
No, I'm right there with you, Brandon, because I've gone into a restaurant, and as soon as we get set down at a table, before I sit down, I always usually run to the restroom before I sit down. And I've had to tell my kids several times, you need to get up because that's daddy's spot, because my back's got to be against the wall and I got to see where I can go and how I can protect. Even at church, like literally, I have to leave my house to go to church at 11:15. I have to leave my house at 10:45 a.m., get to church by 10:50, and church is letting out, and I have to be going in to get my spot. And
Right.
usually it's in the middle, but on the end of a row. And I know where my exits are. I know how to, cover people, because I'm always packing. Like I always have my piece on me. And my hypervigilance, my anxiety and all that kicks in. And I'd love to be a regular Joe Blow civilian. Don't get me wrong. I love my military service and I love being the warrior and I love having my servant's heart that I do have. But I'd love to not have the struggles and not have to, put my wife and kids through that, because it's hard on them knowing, is daddy going to be set off because
Right.
Joe Blow is, so it's hard on them. And that goes back to earlier when we were talking that the wife and kids serve as well. Even though I didn't have kids while I was in the military, they deal with dad's PTS, and they deal with, is what I'm going to say to my dad, is it going to, is he going to snap at me because I said the wrong thing? Or it's one of those days where in the back of your head, you shit that you saw comes back up, and you're trying to keep it internalized, and all of a sudden your kids say something out of the way, or your wife says something out of the way. And so luckily, I didn't go through the VA. Like I said, I got out in 2004, and I just now started my VA journey. I started at the end of the year, and so I'm going through, all that, and going through therapy and stuff now. Finally got all that set up and ready to go. So I'm learning ways to control my triggers and stuff. But there are times where nothing could be wrong. I could be just doing my 1,000-yard stare, and one of my kids just says something, and I just snap. Like, I'm not like physical violence or nothing like that. It's just more verbal, like, and I have to apologize later because I snap at them. I'm
Well,
like,
here's the juxtaposition of that. And I'm going to touch on what Tom said, that, as elder statesmen or warriors, we have wisdom and we have knowledge. Well, our triggers and stuff, when we flip out, it really annoys people. But where the wisdom and the knowledge and it lies in is, why don't you ask, how did you get that way? What made you, like, what situations were in, like, that you were in that turned you into this,
yeah,
and there's where the knowledge is. If we could just break that barrier of, oh my God, he's got PTSD, he's broken, he's going to stab a couch in the middle of the night.
Yeah, and I think one example of that, Brandon, is it's said that many veterans are aggressive or anxious drivers, and the reason for that, the trigger, if you will, is because when you all were in Afghanistan, there's basically one road to get from point A to point B, and that road or sections of it are lined with IEDs. If you're in Iraq and you're going through a city with buildings, there's probably snipers there,
right,
or some other danger, and so those veterans who were behind the wheel in those countries are, when they come home, they're trying to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible or safely as possible. And it could be something like a mailbox or a pedestrian that
bag of trash.
Yeah. Yes. That just triggers it, and sets off a bad situation. But we've got to be aware of that. And one of the things that's come from that, I think, is there's now these specialized veterans courts. Yes. Where if they get into a bar fight or a speeding ticket or something like that those things can be adjudicated in a forum in which some of these special circumstances hopefully are be able to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, no, so Louisville has a veterans court, and I've done some work with some of the veterans that have been put through there, and it's amazing that the veterans court, what they do for veterans, because a lot of police officers have their own form of PTS. Don't get me wrong, that not saying that they don't understand, but a lot of times when they come up to a call, unless they're a veteran themselves, they don't really understand what those veterans are going through. And I like the fact that a lot of big cities are going to veterans courts, and it helps the veteran, it helps them to a point, get them where they need to be to get them help.
I would like to, I sorry to interrupt, but just to throw in there, because law enforcement, I was a sheriff's deputy for a while. And it's not that first responders don't understand and can't relate, but the way the laws are written, there's nothing that your first responder level can do.
Right.
And, that's where the change needs to be. Now, are we going to get that in this podcast? Probably not, but it's good to mention. Things are starting to change. Veterans Court, we have it here in the upstate of South Carolina. It's a wonderful thing, but it's a start.
So, Chris, I threw it up on the screen a little bit ago, but Tom, he said he would like to link up with Tom, and then he asked me what I thought about it. I think you should link up with them and talk about and discuss how you guys can possibly partner, and if Tom has a veteran that they need help with certain things that they can't do at Freedom Alliance, I think it would be good to have Veteran Hundo Club as a kind of a Rolodex that he could reach out to and say, "Hey, I got a veteran going through this. Can you help them out?" I think that would be a pretty good connection for both organizations, Veteran Hundo Club and Freedom Alliance, because I'm sure that there's things that Hundo Club doesn't do that Freedom Alliance can do, and vice versa. So, Tom, I know we've taken a lot of your time, and I know you're not at home at the present moment in time. I want to say thank you for coming on and spending this time with us and talking about the Freedom Alliance. And if you were just tuning in, make sure you say a prayer for Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. He's dealing with some personal issues, things that he needs prayers for. So definitely pray for Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. Tom, thank you again. Is there anything else that you want to say, closing statements before we let you go, my friend?
Well, I want to say what a pleasure it was to be on the program. Thank you. It's a great conversation. I think we hit some important topics. If I may, I just wanted to close with just giving a tribute. It's Memorial Day, and it's a day when we should remember and honor those who gave their lives for a great cause. And this is a wonderful nation, but we've got our problems. There's no question about that. And a lot of people have gotten discouraged over the last few years to the point where they say, I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to contribute. I'm not going to volunteer. I'm not going to help out my community. And many are saying, I can't even encourage a young person to go into the military these days. Well, my perspective on that is I think we need great people in these institutions to make them better, to change it up. And I was not at Arlington Cemetery today, but I go there several times a year. And, you've got, there's a lot to see there. You've got Kennedy's grave, and you've got the Tomb of the Unknown, and Section 27, which is one of the oldest sections, dates back to the Civil War. And then, of course, you've got Section 60. So those first few that I mentioned they're very interesting from a historical perspective, right?
Yeah.
And an academic perspective. But at Section 60, that's where so many of the Iraq and Afghanistan veterans lie in rest. And it's an interesting place because it evokes a lot of emotions. And some of those emotions they're obviously grief and sadness, but there's also hope and love. And it seems like every time I go there, especially when we've got some of our scholarship students with us, there is inevitably, you run into somebody else who is there and you have a conversation, and there's a common purpose. It's a place of meeting and renewal and camaraderie. It is to this generation of veterans very much like the Vietnam Wall is to the Vietnam veterans. And so when I go over there, I have never met any of those men who are lying beneath those tombstones, but I've come to know many of them through their families and the work we do at Freedom Alliance. And it is just an honor to have heard their stories, to have learned what kind of parent they were, what kind of warrior they were, what kind of husband or wife they were. And so I just want to say to all the families out there listening to us or grieving today, we love you, we care for you, and we ask God's blessing upon you.
Definitely. One thing I just remembered that we didn't hit on, your ambassador program. Do you want to touch on that a little bit with what Reese is doing with your ambassador program?
Sure. So Reese Carwile is one of nearly 700 students who are on scholarship with Freedom Alliance. They get that scholarship because their parent was killed or disabled in military service. And Reese serves as our ambassador this year. So her dad was killed in Afghanistan. And when she was very young, I think she was 5 years old, and her younger sister was about 3 years old when he died. And now both of them are on scholarship with us. Reese is what she does is she goes around the country. She speaks to our supporters, community groups, and just represents the other hundreds of students who are on scholarship, represents the organization, and does a fantastic job. Willis, when we first met, it was on the other program, the Misfit Nation, and Reese was able to be with us. She could not be with us today because she was out at the Indy 500 this weekend, representing Freedom Alliance. And
Nice.
but we have one of these students each year, and so for them, they're doing great work for the organization and talking about the other students. But it's also cathartic for them because everywhere she goes, she gets to talk about an American hero, the one that's closest to her heart, First Lieutenant Don Carwile, who died in Afghanistan and was a police officer as well, served in the Army. And she just wants people to know about her dad, and we want her to tell them, to keep his memory alive. And the best way to do that is through this beautiful young lady who represents her family and her father so well, and represents our organization in a great way too.
I love
Reese,
it.
Reese is a student at Ole Miss. She is studying medicine. She's taking all those courses that I can't even pronounce, right?
Right, I get it. Yeah.
And she was on Misfit Nation, like you said, and I think Rich was giving her a little bit of banter because she goes to Ole Miss.
Yes.
So I think it's pretty neat, and she took it like a champ too, and she gave it back to him too. I mean,
yes, she did.
I loved it, and I love the fact that you guys have the ambassador program where children of the fallen or disabled can go around the country and talk about their hero. That's awesome in itself, and what you guys do at Freedom Alliance, where you care for the children and the families, and then everything else that you guys do is awesome. So definitely want to thank you again for coming on here and hanging out with us. I know you got things that you got to be doing. You're a busy man. And Christopher Raymond, he put his email in the chat there, but I'll get you connected after the show. I'll get you to connect via email. That way you guys can start talking and work on whatever you guys need to work on to be kind of partners in a sense, partners. So definitely thank you again for coming on here. And I want to thank Rich LaMonica from the Misfit Nation for connecting us together. And it was meant to be. Today being Memorial Day, we didn't have a show set up for today because it is Memorial Day, but it was just
worked out good.
It was meant to be. Let's just put it that way. The man upstairs always has a plan, and today it was meant to be that you guys came on here and to hang out with us and tell your story and tell us about the Freedom Alliance. So thank you again. It was our pleasure to have you on. Anytime that you want to come back on and talk about some of the things that you guys got coming on, feel free to reach out to me via email, and I'll get you scheduled, even if I have to do a special episode.
And we'll have to get you on Veterans Voice Radio. I'd love to do an interview with you on our radio, and we can talk about that offline.
Happy to. Thank you.
So I'll get you connected with Chris as well, and then I'll get you connected with Brandon as well. And we'll get you on Veterans Voice Radio and talk about it, and we'll go from there. So thank you again. Be safe on your travels home. I don't know if you're worried about the weather in your area. I know it came through here last night, so definitely be safe on your travels home, my friend.
We're good. Thank you all. God bless.
Thank you so
have
much.
a good night.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. How cool was that?
Man, that was awesome.
Dude, that was way awesome. I mean, I saw his show the other night on Misfit Nation with Rich, and and they had Reese on there, and she was talking about her dad, and um, it was just meant to be. It just fell in place. Like I said, I didn't have a show on Sunday because weather knocked out my power here.
Right.
So I was like, oh, I need a show. And then Rich was like, hey, connected this to via email. And I was like, yep, it was meant to be. And he's amazing. The organization itself is amazing. I mean, for one, it was founded by a badass.
Oh, 100%. I'm familiar with Ali and some of his cohorts, and he's still a badass, man. He's going through some stuff right now, but that man's still a badass.
Oh, he's still kicking ass and taking names. I mean, that's for damn sure. And the organization's been around for 20 plus years. So they're not no fly by night kind of organization.
They're not Wounded Warrior Project. The first iteration, they've cleaned up. You can't say something bad without saying something good.
Yeah,
they've cleaned up a lot. They've done a lot better. But that's my beacon in the light of BS nonprofits. And Freedom Alliance is not even a blip on the radar. They are amazing.
Yeah, I mean, they're, and like I said, you can go to their website, freedomalliance.org. We'll throw it up here on the screen again. And you can see all the programs, the adventures and experiences. You can get involved, donate, host a fundraiser, notes of appreciation, which is cool because notes of appreciation, you go in and you fill it out. They send it overseas. So that's super cool.
That's amazing. Like my little story about the care packages with the little notes from elementary school. I mean, it means a lot. It really does.
Oh, it does. I remember getting them when I was overseas, and with the care package from Idaho or wherever, and it's for soldiers that are deployed, military personnel. I don't want to just use the word soldiers because then I'm saying army, but military personnel who are deployed to get those care packages, whether it be socks, whether it be beef jerky. If there's a handwritten note from a student in there, whether it be written in crayon or unreadable cursive writing, back in the day. It didn't matter. It was awesome, and I always hung it up in the hooch wherever I was at. If I got one of those letters and didn't even know the kid, and I was
that was the thing. We would fight over the sock, play whatever over the socks and the beef jerky. But if there was a handwritten note in there, the fighting got real.
Oh yeah,
because somebody wanted to be the first one to actually just read something that was written by somebody. That's how important it is. That old country song, "Letters from Home." Boy, howdy, it's real.
Yes, it definitely is, man. And that's even like if you're going through boot camp. I got a really good friend of mine, Mr. Stidham, and his wife. Their oldest son, or not oldest, but one of their sons is in boot camp right now, Marine Corps boot camp. He's down at Parris Island, and I'm like, they were asking me all kinds of questions, and I'm like, make sure he gets letters from home.
Yes.
From mom, dad. Don't write them together. Write them separately so he gets letters. And so they've been sending him letters, and I seen them the other day, and they're like, "Oh, we got our phone call." They're that 5-minute scripted phone call, and instructors yelling in the background, and mom's all worried. I was like, it's gonna get worse for him, and
it's gonna get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, I said, just make sure you send letters. That's what's going to keep him going. Make sure all his family and friends send letters down there.
Pictures too. Pictures are good. Yep.
Well, now they do digital. Like they can upload digital pictures, and they only allow them so many pictures that they can get in boot camp now.
Okay. It's been years since.
Yeah. Yeah, so they do digital pictures. And they can only get so many, but no, what Freedom Alliance does, man, they're you can go to their website freedomalliance.org, click on the About Us, and go down to transparency, and you can see their 990 there on their website, which a lot of organizations don't do.
Yep.
Then you can go to frequently asked questions. Just look over the website. You can donate. There's a donate button on the home screen there. You can follow them on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Follow them. Make sure you say a prayer for Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. Check them out. They do couples retreats. They do a little bit of everything. So yeah, man. Let's pay the bills real quick because I haven't done that today.
Let's do it.
If you're out there and you're in the music business, check out talenttalents.com. What Chris Hawks does, he does for free. If you're a band, venue, promoter, anything, if you want to get booked in the Louisville, Kentuckiana area, and he's even got connections in other states as well, check out talenttalents.com. If you're local in the Louisville area and you want to get, if you're a band, whatever, if you're in the music business, check out Louisville Local Entertainment, which is Rick Ames. He's a Navy/Marine Corps veteran. If you like shirts, I'm not wearing it tonight because I was wearing a Memorial Day shirt, saying the one I'm wearing. Check out sameflagsameoath.com. HomeFront Sitrep has a shirt there. It's a co-branded shirt. It says Marine It Down. It's written in red crown. It's got the Same Flag, Same Oath logo on one arm. It's got the HomeFront Sitrep logo on the other. It's got your 6 on the back. That shirt there, if you go to sameflagsameoath.com, go to co-branded, scroll down, find HomeFront Sitrep's Marine It Down shirt. At the end of the year, HomeFront Sitrep's going to get 25% of all sales of that shirt. What HomeFront Sitrep is going to do, we're going to take that shirt or that 25% of whatever we get. We're going to find all the Kentucky veteran service organizations. We're going to put them in a randomizer, and we're going to hit go. Whoever it lands on is going to get that check. HomeFront Sitrep's not going to keep a dime of that 25% that we get. So the more people that buy the shirt, you don't even have to be a Marine. It basically is a play on the dumb it down method. Keep it simple, stupid. That's basically what it's a play on. So get that shirt, represent HomeFront Sitrep, and then help us help an organization at the end of the year. And then if you're in the market to buy a new home, check out Veteran Mortgage Solutions, Mac Verdi and his team out there. All veterans, they know the ins and outs of veteran home loans and stuff like that. So check out them. Let's play the videos real quick.
Owner of Talon Talents here, and I just want to say that we are ecstatic to be a major sponsor of HomeFront Sitrep, a community that is ran by veterans and made for veterans. So thank you for tuning in. Talon Talents was formed in order to create a music scene that was together in the form of a collective, so that no one has to do everything on their own. And guess what? We've been doing this for free for over a year. So please go and check out Talon Talents through Facebook or through our official website at www.talenttalents.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you again for tuning in to HomeFront Sitrep, a veteran-owned and operated podcast just for you.
My name's Rick Ames. I own Louisville Local Entertainment, a company for music shows, promotions, and bookings in the Louisville music scene. As a veteran, it's my honor to support and sponsor local veteran-owned businesses such as HomeFront Sitrep, made by veterans for veterans. So if you're in the music business and need some help booking or promoting a show for free, look me up, Louisville Local Entertainment. And thanks for tuning in to HomeFront Sitrep.
Gear up in style wearing Got Your Six apparel. Every purchase makes a difference. It's more than just clothing, it's a statement of gratitude. Upgrade without breaking the bank. Discover cost-effective, high-quality clothing made in the USA. Each shirt is handcrafted by our team in the great state of Texas and shipped for free to your front door. Got Your Six is where quality meets purpose. We're a small veteran-owned business that takes pride in the mission and the value of our products. Join us in growing a community, supporting our heroes, veterans, and first responders by wearing a custom design.
I thought you'd never ask.
Visit sameflagsameoath.com and use the code TRIPLETHREAT for 10% off. Follow us on all social media platforms for any upcoming releases or events, and you can reach out to us with questions anytime. We are here to support our brothers and sisters.
Hey guys, Mac Verdi here with Veteran Mortgage Solutions. As rates are dropping, home values are going to start to go up. It's time to start looking if you're looking to purchase a home. That being said, we are an all-military veteran loan officer team. We know the ins and outs of the VA home loan. We are considered the experts in this field. Give us a call today. Go to our website, veteranmortgagesolutions.com. Fill out my quick form. I'll give you $500 off towards closing costs. Have a great day.
And we're back. So yeah, definitely if you're in the music business, check out talenttalents.com or Louisville Local Entertainment. If you're in the mood for some veteran-owned t-shirts, go to sameflagsameoath.com. Matt and Becky are amazing with the product that they're putting. The shirts are comfortable. It's awesome. If you're in the business for getting a new home, check out Mac Verdi and his team. They are amazing at veteranmortgagesolutions.com. So yeah, man, tonight was a great episode. Brandon, thank you for coming on here and hanging out with us. If you're out there in Facebook world, YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever, if you're in the process of filing your VA disability claim, we here at HomeFront Sitrep started a new segment. It's called Ask Monica. I was going to talk about it last night, but we didn't have power. We had our first question come in. And I was kind of hoping Monica could come on and join with us, but unfortunately she's not able to at the present moment in time. Let's see. I don't have it pulled up on my computer here. Hold on. Let's see. So we had a question come in.
I help veterans with their VA stuff too. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I can answer. If not.
So the question was, let's see. All right. She said, this came from Bonnie Stanberry. And the email, which I'll play here in a minute, it says, I had a veteran approach me that was in the Marshall Islands during Vietnam era, and he's been having some health issues. He was wondering who to contact about getting help with this. He was told that there was a program now that was addressing the toxic nature of being in the Marshall Islands. Can you help me help him? So Monica, ask Monica, Monica Stanford, who is a doctor of nursing. So she's a nurse practitioner. She's all around badass. She was married to, or she is married to a lieutenant colonel, Marine Corps lieutenant colonel for 35 plus years. She's also a VA disability provider. So when you go do your CPNA, or is it CPNA exams or CMP exams, she's the one that helps veterans through that process. So her and Miss Bonnie were talking. She sent out some links, which I'll bring up on the next episode. But there's a whole list of things going on. So, like I said, we do have a new segment within HomeFront Sitrep. It's called #AskMonica. I'm going to play that video real quick. You can email her at askmonica0@gmail.com. So if you have a question about your VA disability claims, send an email to askmonica0@gmail.com. Here's that video real quick. I love that music, dude.
I couldn't stop dancing, dude.
That music,
well, all
awesome.
right.
But no, yeah. So if you have questions about your VA disability claim, askmonica0@gmail.com, or you can maybe possibly do the hashtag #AskMonica, and we'll get those notifications of questions out there. We're also getting ready to start a new segment with my buddy Will Creasman, who's a therapist. He's former military Army guy. He's now embedded with the units as a civilian at Fort Knox, Kentucky. He also has his own business called Courageous Endeavors with Will Creasman. So we're going to start a new segment with him as well. So if you have like questions about therapy and stuff like that, he'll be able to help those. So we're going to get Will back up on the show. We had him on early on when we first started podcasting on our audio only, so I haven't had him back on since we started doing video. So I'm going to get him back up here, and we're going to talk about the Ask Will or something. I ain't figured out what I'm going to name it yet, but maybe me and him can come up with something. Christopher Raymond says, "What's up, Brandon?" But yeah, man, tonight was a great episode. Brandon, I want to thank you for coming on here and hanging out with me, man.
No problem. You caught me at a good time.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad you responded, and I thank you for coming on here. One of the things that we always talk about here at HomeFront Sitrep is to ask that next hard question. I can walk up to Brandon and I can say, "Hey, Brandon, how you doing?" More than likely, he's going to say, "I'm okay. I'm hanging in there," something of that nature. But you have to ask that next hard question. "Brandon, how you really doing?" More than likely, Brandon's going to open up. So I found this commercial. I was watching TV the other night, a while back, because I've played this video a couple times. It just struck a nerve, man. I really had to pause it, rewind it, play it again, pause it, rewind it, play it again, pause it, rewind it, call my wife and say, "Hey, you need to come in here and watch this." And I played it for her. And because it fits exactly into that. How are you doing? How are you really doing?
Right.
Asking that next hard question. And it's by BetterHelp, is who made the commercial. It's only 30 seconds long, but it's freaking powerful. So let's play this video. Very, very powerful. Because here's the thing. I've said everything that was on that whiteboard that they wrote.
I was getting ready to say, because that's the first time I've seen that commercial. I've said, "I'm hanging in there and living the dream," are like my go-tos.
Yeah. And it's a constant, man. It's a constant. And unfortunately, us as veterans, we got that macho mentality that if somebody says, "Hey, how you doing?" "Oh, I'm okay. I'm hanging in there. I'm living the dream."
Yep.
Even though we're internally friggin' tore up from the floor up.
Screaming on the inside.
Yeah, screaming. And, you know, we say it here all the time that if you want to ask that next hard question, be ready. don't just say it in passing and don't really mean it. Because if you ask that next hard question, be ready for a conversation, whether it be 30 minutes, whether it be an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours.
Yep.
Make sure you've got time to answer and listen, because sometimes that's all we need is that little extra. How are you really doing? So definitely make sure you ask that next hard question,
Yep.
and be ready for it. The response to it and everything. And with it being Memorial Day, guys, ladies and gents out there, make sure you remember and you honor the sacrifice of our fallen brothers and sisters out there that paid the ultimate sacrifice,
Yep.
because your freedom is a debt that you could never repay. And I hate to say it that way, but that's the way it is.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. And also, if you're out there and if you're like us and lost brothers and stuff, over there, and Memorial Day's hitting hard, it's never too late to call 988.
Yeah.
I mean, look, even if you don't want to talk to the veteran suicide hotline, you can text 988 and they'll have a text conversation with you, and just talk to you. Like, they're not going to immediately call the cops and blah, blah, blah on you.
And it's anonymous too. When you dial 988, it's anonymous. You don't have to tell them your name.
Nope.
You don't have to tell them where you're at. None of that. It's anonymous. If you want to tell them your information, you can. They're not going to ask you for it, but if you want to tell them, you can.
Yeah, the only way that they will ask you for that information is if you are actively a threat to yourself or others.
Yep.
Other than that, it's you can come up with whatever name you want.
And you don't even have to be a veteran to call that. If you're a family member of a veteran, dial that number and they will talk to you as well.
Yeah, 988. See, veterans, it's 988, press 1.
Yep.
Everybody else, 988.
Yep.
There you go. Yep.
And then with this being Memorial Day, I'm gonna play this little 13-second clip that I played at the beginning of the show, because this thing is powerful, man. It's just powerful.
Yep.
It's the guts and it's the glory. 100 stripes, 100 stories.
There it is.
Yeah, and that song gets me too, because that song a lot of times on TikTok is played with reunions.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you what, I'm a Marine, I'm a macho mother trucker, but those reunion videos get me every time.
Oh, they destroyed me because I never had any.
No, me neither. Me neither. And yeah, I mean, I can't say that I didn't have reunions, but the one reunion I remember was a bad reunion because I caught her in fucking bed with us.
I mean, yeah, I'm just saying, like, I didn't get to surprise my kid at the.
Yeah.
So those veterans that get to, oh my God, it's amazing, and I cry too, bro.
Oh, dude, I cry like a baby, and I'll be sitting in my work truck or sitting at home and be scrolling through TikTok, and the algorithm. You scrolling through TikTok and you watch a video. The next time you log into TikTok, your whole feed is that.
Oh, I know, yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, and it's not like I can't just keep scrolling because I'm drawn to it. It's like, holy cow, but yeah, you definitely have to take a moment and remember and honor the sacrifices of the fallen. And because everybody in your life, 6 degrees of separation, somebody in your life has lost a loved one in one of the conflicts, wars, whatever you want to call them, since World War One, or even before World War One. Somebody somewhere down the line has, you lost somebody they loved. So definitely honor and remember those guys.
Yep.
Brandon, thank you again, sir. You got any closing statements you want to talk about? Veterans Voice Radio, Military United podcast streams?
Yeah, I will just real quick. I know it's been a long stream, but Veterans Voice Radio, we have just swapped over to some new improved equipment. We're getting everything set up. It's veteran, no S this time. We had to drop the S. But if you want to come see us, veteranvoiceradio.com. Check us out. Go to it. That tells you everything about MUPs and everything. Donation links there. Also, you can click. We have Ranger Rockway, which is our rock station. We've got Simplify Country, our country station, and we've got our veteran mix. And you can click on the Facebook or the website, and you can pick what you want to listen to. It's nothing but veterans and their dependents that are not signed. We're rocking out with them every day. I'm a DJ on there. Willis is going to be a DJ on the countryside, hopefully soon, I think.
Yeah, we're going to work on that, get everything set up.
But I mean, we're up and running. There's not many live DJs, but the music is pumping. So if you just want something with no interruptions, just put it on, listen to it, check us out. We're expanding.
And if you want to be a DJ, reach out to Brandon. Brandon will throw his email out there in contact in the chats.
Yep.
If you want to be a DJ, reach out to Brandon. Let us know. You can even send us an email. Reach out to Brandon on Facebook. Reach out to me. We're definitely looking for people to come on, and it's internet radio. So you basically go in, you do your playlist. You can set up when you do, you want to talk or anything like that.
Yep.
And just sit at your computer, man, and have a conversation. And man, and then check out on Roku. We got to bring that up. We got our Roku app, Military United Podcast. If you go to Roku, go to apps, search, type in there Military United Podcast Streams, all individual words, which is down at the bottom of the screen here. And download the MUPS app. My show's on there. Contagion Effects on there. Donald Dunn's show's on there. Every Day's a Saturday's on there. Oscar Mike Radio's on there. Do you have yours on the MUPS yet?
I don't have mine on MUPS yet. We're working on that. Also, I'm glad that you mentioned apps. Veteran Voice Radio. We've got an app for Apple and Android. We're just waiting on the final approvals, but it's going to look like what's behind me. So then you'll be able to take us wherever you go, because you want to take me where you go.
Yeah, you definitely want to listen to and support our brothers and sisters out there that's in the music business. We had Hero Stock join us earlier, Jason Steiner, MUPS, and Homefront Sitrep, and we're all involved with Hero Stock. I'm trying to get Hero Stock here in Kentucky. Me and Jason have talked. I had him on the show, and I've had a conversation with the mayor in Shepherdsville and the Bullitt County Chamber of Commerce. We're going to have another meeting coming up soon so we can actually get this process rolling. Hopefully November 8th will be our Hero Stock concert here in Kentucky.
And I'll be me and Donald will be at the one in Rolla, Missouri, coming up at the end of next month. Then I'll be probably at the one in Nashville when it goes. And since you've got Kentucky, I'm gonna run on up that way if it happens to be this year, because that's not far.
Yeah, it's not far. I'm hoping to be at the one in Nashville. Unfortunately, I'm not able to make out the one in Nebraska and Missouri. I'm not going to be able to make those, but I'm hoping we'll see what happens. Christopher Raymond says, my God, my homework list is big. I'm telling you, Chris, you don't even realize the momentum that has happened. So if you go to Veteran Hundo Club's website, Homefront Sitrep is one of the official podcasts, for Veteran Hundo Club. But here's something cool. And I don't know if you were on the call the other day, Brandon, when this was brought up. I think you had already jumped off. So there is a website out there, 100 Best Veteran Podcast. So I'm gonna make this full screen. Look who's number one on 100 Best Veteran Podcast. And this is because of you guys, the listeners, whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you're watching Homefront Sitrep. We are the number one podcast out of 100 Best Veteran Podcast on feedspot.com. So if you go to Google and you type in 100 Best Veteran Podcast, HomeFront Sitrep is right there. And that's because of you guys. You guys are why we are number one. And I hate to say it, but my buddy's Triple Threat Vet podcast was number one. And we had to make them go down to number two.
Because we're a quadruple threat.
Yeah.
One extra threat.
Well, there's 4 of them. There's 4 of them.
Oh God.
So they're amazing. I love the team at Homefront or Triple Threat Vets. They're my brothers from another mother. Scott, Al, Matt, and Ty. Ty's a good old Kentucky boy, but he lives in Texas now in Houston with Matt and Scott, and Al's in Florida. Those guys do amazing. They're live on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. You can find them on their Facebook page or their or YouTube as well. But those guys are amazing. On this list of veteran podcasters, I'll name some names here. You got Return to Roots, Mill to Vets, number 4. Then you have Oscar Mike Radio, which is Travis. He's number 8. Then you have Every Day's a Saturday, USMC veteran, which is Brian Roof is number 16. Then you got number 18. You got Misfit Nation, which is Rich LaMonica. So a lot of the veteran podcasters that we hang out with are on this list within the top 20. So definitely support your veteran podcasters out there that are doing amazing things, man. And like I always say on this show, stay safe out there. You got to stay safe. Brandon, you got anything else to say before I let you go, my friend?
Oh, no, man. I think I covered it. Everybody have a good night. Watch all these thunderstorms and stuff. Everybody just be safe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, guys. It's been a great show. Check out freedomalliance.com or .org. freedomalliance.org.
Yep.
Check them out. They're doing great things. Mr. Christopher Raymond, thank you for that. I got your 6 as well. Guys, stay safe out there. Be safe. Like I always say on Homefront Sitrep, be safe out there. I got your 6. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this show.
Suggestions and comments are always welcome.
Cannot wait to have another great show with y'all.
Don't forget you can find HomeFront Sitrep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcast.
Stay safe out there. I got your 6.